ஹலோ, கேக்குறதா? Bring this.
ஹலோ
அடியன்.
அடியன்.
நமஸ்காரம்.
நமஸ்காரம்.
எப்படி இருக்கீங்க?
இப்ப கேக்குறதா?
இப்போ நல்லா கேக்குறது. ஓகே. ஸோ இங்கே என்ன பண்ண வேண்டியிருந்தா அந்த கீழே இது டிடக்ட் அதர் ப்ரீவியஸ் லிங்க்ஸ் டிடன்ட் ஒர்க். அடியன்.
அடியன் நமஸ்காரம்.
அடியன் நமஸ்காரம். ஓகே, ஸோ நீங்க வந்துட்டீங்க. இப்போ நான் உனக்கு உங்களுக்கு பதில் போட வேண்டியதில்லை.
அடியன் தன்யோஸ்மி சார்.
அடியன். ஓகே, குட். நமஸ்காரம்.
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 இப்ப கேக்குறதா?
ரெண்டு இடத்துலயும் கேக்குறது. எனக்கு விதமா ரிப்பீட் ஆயிட்டு இருக்கேன். ஓகே, மிஸ் ஆயிட்டா. சரியா முடிச்சேன். ஓகே, இப்ப ஜாயின் பண்ணிருக்கிறது யாரு?
ஸ்ருதியும் ஸ்ரீயா.
நமஸ்காரம். अन्य कोऽपि आगत्य पठतु इदानीम् आरभामहे यस्या भवद्भक्तजनार्ते हन्तु पितृत्वमन्येषु विचारितूर्णं स्तम्भेऽवतारस्तमनन्यलभ्यं लक्ष्मीर्समं शरणं प्रपद्ये श्रीमान् वेङ्कटनाथार्य कवितार्किककेसरी वेदान्ताचार्यवर्य मे सन्निधतां सदा हृदि ஸ்ருதி ஸ்ரீயா உங்களுக்கு இந்த ஸ்லோகங்கள் தெரியும் இல்லையா? அப்போ நீங்க கூட சொல்ல வேண்டுவாங்க. ஞானானந்தமயம் தேவம் நிர்மலஸ்படிகாகிருதம் ஆதாரம் சர்வ வித்யானாம் ஹயக்ரீவம் உபாஸ்மஹே. இப்போ இது தெரிஞ்ச வாழ்க்கை இது கூட சொல்லலாம், தெரியாதுனாக்கா அது பரவாயில்ல, நான் அது அப்புறம் சொல்லி கொடுக்குறேன். வாக்கியகாரம் வரருச்சிம் பாஷ்யகாரம் பதஞ்சலிம் பாணினி சூத்திரகாரஞ்ச பிரணதோஸ்மி முனித்ரயம். மல்லிகா மாமி, உங்களை அது நீங்க அந்த இன்டராக்டிவ் லிங்க்ல இருந்தீங்க, இப்ப அதுல காணோம். அது இருந்தாக்கா அட்லீஸ்ட் பேசலாம் டூ வே. சரி, ஓகே. ஸ்ருதியும் ஸ்ரீயாவும் ரிப்பீட் ஆஃப்டர் மீ. வாக்கியகாரம் வரருச்சிம் பாஷ்யகாரம் பதஞ்சலிம் பாணினிம் சூத்திரகாரஞ்ச பிரணதோஸ்மி முனித்ரயம். இது so basically the shloka says that Panini is the Sutrakara. So I'll give a little bit of a historical background for this. In previous yugas, as you know, there were all the in the previous this thing, there were all yugas. All the rishis were there, the Sapta rishis like Vasishta, Bharadwaja, and Angirasa and all. They all knew the Vedas by themselves, and or they got Upadesham from Brahma, and usually so, and then they had this grammar and and also the devatas were there, and they were interacting, and they were coming to earth, and they were interacting with this, and the level of knowledge and the level of anushtanam and all was very high. So because of that, there were 9 different vyakaranam. So there were 9 different rule books, grammar books. Each one of them was way more complicated. Like Hanuman learned all his knowledge from Surya Devata, and it is said that he is a Nava Vyakarana Pandita. So he was a master of all the 9 different types of grammar. Now, of course, after the Mahabharata war, all that was a lot of that was lost and destroyed. People, many Brahmanas also fought in the war, and they were also killed, or they did not have Kshatriyas or suitable Shishyas who could learn. And then this is around 300 Kali Yuga, or 2900 BCE. Panini lived in, he was in a grammar, he in a Gurukula under some guru, and but he was a very dull student, and it is said that other Shishyas and all made fun of him, and so the guru's wife took pity upon him and told him to go to the Himalayas and do tapas. It is assumed that he did tapas on Shiva, and then what is written in the Rig Veda that came up, the Shiva actually showed up as a result of Panini's tapas, and he played on his damaru, and that there were he got these 14 sutras, and they go like they're very short verses. Like the first one is Ayun, Rulruk, Eod, and so on, and the last one is Hal. And these are, so there are like these 14 short sutras like this. This is the basis of all grammar, and in modern times it is accepted as the basis of Sanskrit grammar. But possibility is that because it's based on the assumption that Shiva did not speak it and give him Upadesham, so it is not just for Sanskritam. Then the fact that he played it on his drum and that's how it was heard by Panini, that it might be the basis of all grammar for all languages actually. So these 14 sutras, and with that, and he also blessed Panini with knowledge, and as a result, Panini was able to compose the Ashtadhyayi, or sutras in 8 chapters, and these Ashtadhyayi sutras are also very brief. Sutras themselves, by their very definition, are very brief because they were intended. Once you learn, it was a way of retaining, like the principle. Like if you, in modern times, just give an example, there's a Pythagoras theorem, and if you just say Pythagoras theorem, if you've learned and if you've properly memorized the rules of Pythagoras theorem, you would immediately know what it refers to. But so that's how sutras work. And Shreya, I'm sorry, which Shruti? Who's the smaller, younger one?
Shreya.
First grade. Shreya, okay. And what grade are you in?
Fifth.
Fifth. Oh, okay. So you probably do know about Pythagoras theorem then, right? Have you heard of it? I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. So so that's, so like in Sambhaashanam, for example, there are sutras are called like Athato Brahma Jignasa and so on. So like that one has only 3 words. So then so like this, Panini composed his sutras, which are very brief, composing of 8 chapters. So he is a sutrakara, the one who composed the sutras. So then there is Vakyakaram, Vararuchim. So Vararuchi is someone who wrote longer sentences on this, but it was still not elaborate. It is basically short, but it's a little longer than that. So the people who cannot make out anything from the Panini's sentences can at least make out something from Vararuchi's Vakyas. And then there is the Bhashyam, or the Mahabhashyam of Patanjali. And Mahabhashyam of Patanjali is the longest. It's a very detailed treatise. Unfortunately, there's a story behind this, and a lot of this has been lost to us. I mean, the story behind this is that Patanjali is this thing of Adisesha avatar. He's an incarnation of Adisesha, and so he had a lot of these shishyas in the thousands, and he was going to teach all of them his Mahabhashya, and he did. But he made one condition. He said, "I'm going to be sitting behind a curtain, and if you show up, but you're not supposed to peer behind the curtain. If you did, then you will all be burnt to ashes, and you won't be able to. All this education will go waste. This life, you lose this life, and the life, whatever you learned till now in life, will also go waste." This is what condition Patanjali did. And then he taught, and apparently he took this Adisesha form with a lot of mouths and everything, and he taught them a lot of things at the same time. And this was a large crowd of shishyas, unlike those days when they had like usually one shisha at a time was all that they would teach. So then what they did, and then they were wondering how is he able to teach and answer everybody's questions like this, and this went on for a while, and the thing was almost complete when one of the students couldn't stand his curiosity, and he pulled back the curtain, and Patanjali was sitting as Adisesha himself. And as he promised, and the Adisesha Avataram actually is said to have burnt all the Shishyas. And so those people died. And then Patanjali took his normal human form at that point, and he was feeling very sad. Oh, this unfortunately that this happened. And I was wondering what to do. And then at that point, somebody walked in and he said, "Well, who are you?" And he said, "Oh, I'm one of the Sishyas. And how come then you didn't get burned?" I said, "Oh, I stepped outside. Yeah, I missed part of the class, and I was out there. Basically, he had sneaked out of class, and that's how he remained alive." He said, "Okay, fine, you learned this." And he said, "Now sit here and learn this." So he took all these palm leaves or similar birch leaves in the north or palm leaves in the south were what was used for writing. They would take this thing, a needle, and scratch and actually hold it like this and scratch on the leaf, and then they would apply ink to their fingers and rub it on their hands, on the leaf, and then it'll be a nice black color, and you'll be able to read everything. And that's how these old Palma birch leaf manuscripts were written. And he did not have these leaves. I mean, he had the leaves, but he had no needle, no writing instrument. He had to start learning right away. So it is. The story goes that he poked his thigh with something, and with the blood, he did not have ink, right? So with the blood that came out of his thigh, he actually wrote on those leaves. And so he wrote the commentary, and then eventually, due to loss of blood, he completed his education, but then he kind of fell sick. He was rescued by a goat herd, and then he was uh, nursed back to life, and or back to health, I should say. And anyway, well, goat herds have goats, and then they were there, and now they had all this free food, which were all these leaves, and then while he was recovering, the goats made merry out of whatever all those leaves that he had collected, and most of them were lost. So eventually, whatever he managed to uh, save from the goats is what we have as a Mahabharata. So we only have a small portion, and that's what we use to try and interpret all the vast texts that we have. In terms of how vast that is, I have periodically I will share um, some of these brief stories that we have, and then we will and that'll just give you an idea. So unfortunately, compared to what our rishis and others had in previous yugas, we have a very small portion of it, and even that we are struggling to learn, because until the British came, until in the 19th century actually, everybody was learning in Sanskritam, anybody that was getting educated was getting educated in Sanskritam. They were of course also learning the local language, and for those that speak Tamil, because Tamil is also a classical language, it has its own history, and we have the Divya Prabandham, and that was also taught with equal fervor by our gurus. And so these two languages were, at least in Tamil Nadu, were primarily taught, and in other states the Gurukula system was there. So the Prakrita languages also had a high, and still do have a hype, like all these Hindi, Marathi, Bengali, and all these other languages. They have a very high percentage of Sanskrit words. The vocabulary is all from Sanskrit. They don't have the, and only so there's some very basic grammatical sentences and all structures. Those have their individual styles and their individual words. And in Hindi and languages like Hindi, they have a generous helping of Urdu words that have just more, come into usage because of the 1,000 years of Muslim invasion, and it has Farsi and Arabic and those words from those languages mixed in with it. And now we're getting English mixed in with it. But this is sort of the history, and the way that these language so after the advent of the British, the way Sanskritam has been taught is that you learn either your language and English, or you learn primarily English and another language, and then Sanskrit was either the third or the fourth language, and it was primarily used in you sort of you used a process of thinking in the language you knew best, which was either English or the language you spoke at home. And Samskrita was relegated to a place of primarily this in translation. So you have to make, because of this, the process of learning the language became much more difficult. You have to make a great effort to learn, and then you have to make great effort to remember, and all you can do with it is to translate. And then you, of course, you had your tools like the dictionary and everything else, then the grammar books, and then you sat and translated and you figure out how to do it. And that was all you can do with it, the way it was taught under the British system. So what Samskrita Bharati is now doing is that it's going back to the root, the old way, which is learning the way you learn at home with any language you speak, which is by speaking. And then in the course of speaking, then of course, and we will probably start at a much earlier time because of the fact that we are all sort of adults or getting to be adults, and therefore the writing part will start more quickly than it would for a child, but that's very young. But we will start with the same method. So in the process of speaking, many of these grammatical rules will become intuitive. So you will know, just as we know for like English rules, we may not remember, but we will know how to say it and write it correctly. So that's going to be the same way that it's taught here in Sanskritam, that you will learn by speaking, and then along with speaking, you will the rules of grammar will be taught. But then as you get into more complex sentences and stuff, you, with a little bit of practice, but there will be a lot of speaking that goes on here. And especially for those in houses where there's more than one of you, and that is learning the language, like here, Shruti and Shreya. That's why I wanted. Your mother was not sure about whether you'll be able to manage this in high school, but you can. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of a little old, and I keep forgetting which one is Shruti, which one is Shreya, who's the elder, who's the younger.
Shruti and this is Shreya.
Shreya, okay. So, Shruti, you have to learn in order to keep Shreya in the conversational loop, because if she only speaks 1 day a week, guess what? Next Monday, she's going to have forgotten everything. So, I hope you two will speak to each other some basic sentences. I'll send something else that you can watch, some video links, YouTube links, and And if you did that much, that'll be a big help for Shri. And Shri can do the writing part if you, in the event you don't have the time, but if you can participate with her in the speaking the conversational Sanskritam, that it shouldn't take much of your time and it'll be a big help to her. Okay. Is your mother in today or is she? Because I thought she said that she might also be sitting in class. I guess she busy at work.
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, now we start. And I'm first addressing, okay, there's right now on the interactive screen, there's only 2 of you today, so that's all we're going to be able to do. But there are a few others that are watching on the, it says 4 viewers, which means that there is 1 or more that's watching on the broadcast link. Okay. Mama nama Jagannatha. Now, since you're all female, it's going to be, I'm going to say Bhavatyaha nama kim. So, first one on the right that I see for me, which is Shruti.
Mama nama Shruti.
तव पृष्ठे का अस्ति तस्य नाम किम्?
मम नाम श्रिया.
धन्यवादः श्रिया. So when you ask me, say if you are introducing yourself, and now Shruti, I want you to introduce yourself to me, and you say which you just sort of you introduce yourself in response to me, but I also now forget that we got introduced, and introduce yourself, and you're going to ask me what is your name, and that'll be since I'm a male, you're going to be saying Bhavatah. When I talk to a female, if you're talking Shreya, you will say Bhavatyaha nama kim, and when you address another man, when any man or a child boy, you will say Bhavatah nama kim. So introduce yourself and ask me.
Mama nama Shruti. Bhavatah nama kim?
Mama nama Jagannatha. Shreya, introduce yourself and ask me who I am.
Mama nama Shriya. Bhavatah nama kim?
Okay. Mama nama Jagannatha. And Andal, you're in
Adiyan.
Adiyan. Can you put is it okay if can you turn your video on?
Yes, Swami. Adiyan.
Okay. Mama nama Jagannatha. Bhavatyaha nama kim?
Mama nama Andal.
And now ask me. Now, okay, forget that I introduced yourself. Now you introduce yourself and ask me who I
am. Mama nama Andal. Bhavatyaha nama kim?
Bhavatah nama kim?
Bhavatah nama kim?
Mama nama Jagannatha. Okay. So we will get to some, so now the introductions are over, and we will get to some vocabulary words. Esha Duravani. Esha means this, and it refers to something that is close by, and Esha refers to feminine. And for the purpose of these initial classes, anything that's A or E, like Lata, Shriya, Shruti, these are all feminine names. Now, Andal, is basically, that name means one who rules or one who conquers. But the Samskrita name for Andal is Goda Devi, or Goda is, so it ends with A, and Devi is a generic uh, term which is basically the feminine for Devata, or Deva or Devata, and that but in everyday Sanskritam use, we use Devi for in Andal's case, she is actually a Devata because she came from Sri Vaikuntham, and as a Nityasuri, and she wasn't born to any human being, didn't even, it's an avataram, but not in the sense of avatarams that were, well, Rama and Krishna pretended to be born to Kausalya and Devaki, but it's Andal was just found in a Tulasi field. So, so she was actually a Devata, but we generally use Devi as a respectful term. Like, and even in Tamil, in our Sampradayam, we have terms, we will say, like, and we use a Tamilized plural form for wives of acharyas, or those who teach us, like swamis, like Mannargudi Swami. Well, his wife attained Sri Vaikuntham, but had she been, let's say, Yasanur Swami or Raghu Swami, I mean, they've got their dharma patnis or wives with them, and when referring to them, we were in Tamil language, and it's, well, Sri Vaishnava Paribhasha, or the linga of Sri Vaishnavas, it is, they will be referred to Swami and Devi. That is the Devi, or the wife of the Swami, and that's a very respectful term to use. So, the term Devi is used for this thing also. Is used as a in Sanskritam and Hindi and many other languages. They will just be, and we even have names like Sri Devi and all there. Even people keep such names, even though because it's the name of it's a name of God, or the Mahalakshmi. And okay, so so remember, when you refer to me, it'll be Bhavataha Namakim. So here in this case, it's Duravani, Esha, and then Eshaha refers to, it means this, and it refers to a masculine item. Now, here's a difference. Like in English, Sanskritam also has masculine, feminine, and neuter, 3 genders. But unlike in English, where the neuter is very specific to things that either don't have life or do not have a specific gender, like a tree, would plant or tree, and they, I mean, and as you probably know from biology, that plants and trees are all bisexual, but they do have genders, but they do not because there's a gender is not specific to a particular plant or tree. Since they all have both genders, they consider, they're called as neuter gender, and similarly, all inanimate objects are addressed as neuter gender. But in Sanskritam, it is not like that. It generally, for the purpose, and again, we will get into the exceptions within a very short time, but for this initial class, if it ends like in aha, like Ramaha, like a name like Ramaha, then it is Ramaha, Krishnaha, Mayuraha. These are all masculine names. If it is Lata, Sita, Janaki, Re, these are feminine names. And if it ends in like Phalam, Pustakam, these are all Kupam, these are all neuter genders. And it doesn't have to be, and as you will soon see, it doesn't have to, like, although Phalam, which is fruit, Pustakam, which is a book, and Kupam, which is a well, these all happen to be inanimate objects, and they are not always the case. And also you have abstract nouns like bhavaha, which can stand for emotion, or those things have a gender too, like in bhavaha, if you say it is masculine. So Sanskritam gets to be a little more complex, but once we get used to the idea of talking, because it's fairly simple, and then you will know instinctively what is masculine, what is feminine. So eshaha is then the term for this, which when referring to masculine, esha for feminine, and etat for neuter. So esha duravani, et eshaha dhanasyutaha. Now dhanam refers to wealth or money. Syutaha refers to a bag. So here is a bag of, literally a bag of money, but that's what they use, the term they use for a wallet or purse. Dhana syutaha. Etad chitram. Etat pustakam. Etad patram. Eshaha chashakaha. Eshaha chamasaha. Etad krida yantram. Yantram is an instrument, or generally a machine. So if I call it a krida yantram, it is basically it means a toy. So we introduced a few words, and the thing is that when I use these terms, eshaha, esha, and etat, it refers to things that I either have in my possession or within touching distance or very close to me. Now, if these same things were to be far away, then I would not refer to it as Esha. For example, unfortunately you can't see it. In order to keep it at a height where you can see, Okay. For the purpose of today's demonstration, you just have to assume that I am actually much closer here, and this is not in my hand. Just imagine that it is much further away. In that case, I would say tat pustakam instead of etat. Then this is एषः धनस्यूतः tat pustakam. एष चषकः सः chamasah. Chashakaha is a tumbler and chamasaha, as you know, is a spoon. So eshaha saha. So something that's far away. Eshaha, something that's close by. Saha, something that is far away. And then there's some more, a couple of more things. Esha lekhani. Not lekhani, sorry. Esha lekhani. Lekhani is a pen. And one more. Eshaha karadipaha. Shreya. Eshaha kaha. Did you understand my question? Shreya, can you hear me? Okay. Eshaha kaha. Tasya nama kim. Tasya nama kaha, I should have said. Yeah. Eshaha kaha, meaning what is this? Do you remember what I called it? Shreya, do you remember what I called it? Hmm? Can you speak loudly?
No.
Okay. Are you saying no to you cannot speak loudly, or you don't remember what I called it?
Remember.
Okay. Esha, no, that's not a problem if you don't remember. This is a first class, and there's a lot of things I'm introducing. So it's after a few classes, it'll become a habit. Eshaha dhanasyutaha. Okay, can you repeat that?
Esha danasyutaha.
Very good. Okay. Eshaha karadipaha.
Eshaha karadipaha.
Karadipaha is a flashlight. Dhanasyutaha is a purse. Esha duravani.
Esha duravani.
Very good. Eshaha chamasaha.
Eshaha chamasaha.
Eshaha chashakaha.
Eshaha chashakaha.
Etad patram.
Etat patram.
Eshaha kaha.
एषः करदीप
Very good. I would probably have had difficulty remembering that, but you were able to remember. So that's very good. Eshaha kaha.
चषकः
Eshaha chashakaha. That's fantastic. Esha ka.
एषा दूरवाणी
Very good. Eshaha kaha. It's a bit of a long name. So is that why you don't remember, or okay, we'll get you to practice. Eshaha dhana syutaha.
धनस्यूतः
Eshaha dhana syutaha.
एषः धनस्यूतः
Very good. Esha ka.
क्षमसः
No, Esha lekhani.
लेखनी
Lekhani is a pen. Chamasaha is a spoon. Andal etat kim.
एतत् क्रीडायन्त्रम्
Very good. Okay. Two, three. Couple of minutes. So I'll introduce one or two other concepts, so we'll get to a sentence. Okay. Chitram tatra asti. Karadipah atra asti. Shruti, now what does tatra mean?
There.
That's very good. That's correct. And atra means here. So atra is here, tatra is there. And as you have figured out, would have probably figured out, asti means what? Chitram tatra asti.
It
Is, yes. How much Tamil do you both speak? Hmm?
வீட்டில் கொஞ்சம் பேசணும்
Okay, very good. That is enough, more than enough. Okay. The reason why I asked about Tamil, and this might be, and only you would know if it is true of Kannada or not. The structure of the Sanskrit, the syntax of the Sanskrit language. Syntax refers to the order in which the sentence go. Like you will say, this is a book. There's a particular order for that. The pronoun comes first, then comes the verb, and then comes the object that we are talking about. So there's a like, and if it's instead of the pronoun, in this case is a subject, so you got subject, verb, and object, and that is this syntax. And now in Samskrita it is said that there is no syntax, in the sense that it is not necessary, because you can say it forwards, backwards, sideways, and which is which is why they're able to make such musical and melodies renditions in poetry when they compose poems like Pratibhata Shreni Bhishana Varagunastoma Bhushana Jani Bhaisthana Tarana Jagadavasthana Karana Nikhila Dushkarma Karshana Nigama Sadharma Darshana Jai Jai Shri Sudarshana Jai Jai Shri Sudarshana. It is because they have this license. Now, in prose and in normal sentences that we create, there, even though you don't have to write in such a way, it doesn't mean that anybody write and everybody writes any way they want. There is a certain uniformity. People like uniformity, and that is why we have order in society. And so there is what's called a convention, and there's a certain convention for syntax in Sanskritam also. So, and that syntax works exactly like in Tamil for most part. அந்த புஸ்தகம் இங்கே இருக்கு, தத் புஸ்தகம் அத்ர அஸ்தி. The syntax flows exactly like in Tamil. And I figured this out when my daughter was 6 years old, and I was trying to teach her Sanskrit, and she didn't know any grammar, and I didn't have the advantage of Samskrita Bharati, and I was myself a learner. I still am, and I did not know how to teach. And since the books that I was using then, they were all based on off of this grammar, and they were intended for translation only, as I explained earlier. I could not. I was not able to do. I did not have the knowledge myself, and Samskrita Bharati was then in its infancy, and I wasn't going to it, or they were only having like camps and workshops. They didn't have these centers where they're teaching all the time now, as they do now. And so when I had to teach someone who knew no grammar but who could speak in English and Tamil, and then I figured out the English syntax and Sanskritam syntax do not match at all. And so if you're learning from English as a base and you're trying to learn Sanskritam, the instinct does not work in any way because they're completely different in so many respects. But in once it came to, I was able to explain to her in Tamil, and I said, this is how you say it in Tamil, and this is how you say it in Sanskrit. It was a perfect match. So those things. So anytime you are trying to compose a sentence, say, as we go into the subsequent classes, if you're trying to compose a sentence in Sanskrit, you know the words, but you don't know how to say it, think of how you would say it in Tamil, and it will work exactly like that in Sanskrit for most part. And is that true of Kannada also?
I'm not sure, Swami. It's been a while. I hardly speak Kannada.
What do you speak?
Tamil.
Then that's fine. That's fine. Then you can compose and okay. So you just don't know how to read Tamil. You can, but you're perfectly. Singing and speaking. Okay. So good. We can get Kannada out of the picture. We don't need it. Since I don't speak it, I know nothing about it. But I did hear one upanyasam on Sudarshana Prabhavam. It was all in Kannada, and I could understand it perfectly. I'm pretty sure if it was just everyday conversational Kannada, I'll not understand. So it is because it was Sudarshana Prabhavam, it was almost all the words were in Sanskritam, and I could guess whatever the grammatical terms that I did not know, I could guess from the context what he was saying and his tone. So I think we will end this class for now, and thank you very much for joining. कवितार्किकसिंहाय कल्याणगुणशालिने श्रीमते वेङ्कटेशाय वेदान्तगुरवे नमः। वादिद्विपशिरो भङ्गपञ्चानन पराक्रमः श्रीमान् वेङ्कटनाथार्य चिरं विजेतां भुवि। श्रीरामानुज सिद्धान्त निर्धारण धुरन्धरादिविंशडगोपाक्यवितीन्द्रो जयतात् भुवि। श्रीमते श्रीवंशडगोप श्री वेदांत देश गिरीन्द्र महादेशिकाय नमः। श्रीमते श्री लक्ष्मण सुखदिव्यपादक सेवक श्री वंशडगोप श्री नारायण इतीन्द्र महादेशिकाय नमः। श्रीमते श्री वंशडगोप श्रृंगनाथ इतीन्द्र महादेशिकाय नमः. And Mallika and Dinesh, thank you also for watching, and hopefully I'll be able to send it in send this the link. I think I figured out how to make it. I will, for the next class onwards, we should not have these problems. I will send an email and we will see about next class. Probably we may not have a Monday class next week because it's a holiday and people will be going for Adhyanotsavam or whatever it is that you're doing for the holidays. And I will I'll send an email and find out how many people will be able to attend, and we'll see if there's going to be a class next Wednesday. Probably I'll keep a class on Wednesday, just because otherwise we'll have to start all over again and you would have forgotten this. Okay, and I'll probably with the two of you, Shruti and Shreya, will probably try to have a class over the phone or something, and we can talk to each other. Okay.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Namaskar. Dhanyas.
Dhanyas.
Thanks for coming.
Okay. Dhanyas.